So, Petteri, I'm really happy to having you today because, as I told you before, Visma is the hot stuff in France right now. Everyone is looking at you, and everyone say, "What is the next move of Visma?" The software editors are on fire here, and obviously, expert comptable are questioning like, okay, what's happened in the market? Where are we going? And today I'm really happy to having you because you are from Visma, and after I will give you the speech to present yourself, but you are from Visma. We discussed earlier together, and I really love your vision. You can see what happened in other countries with other softwares. And so today we are talking about software and accountant relationship between software and vendors and partnership, future skills of accountants too, because it's really important. Of course, we will speak and we will talk about AI, and in the industry, I have so many questions about it. Why are things changing in general, and how fast is changing? And maybe if we have time, we are talking about industry problem like recruitment, because when I had some podcast in the US or in the UK, I feel like we have all the same issue all around the world. We have a subject about attractiveness or attractivity. So a lot of things to do together today during 1 hour, around 1 hour. Is it okay for you?
Absolutely. And I could go for many hours about our industry and what's going on around it. And once I don't remember where it was, but a person was asking me like, "Wow, it feels like you could speak about accounting for at least an hour." And I was like, "You don't know. Like, 1 hour is nothing when you go into the actual evolution of the industry because there's a lot of things, and hopefully we manage to have enough time for all of these, and then continue those conversations outside and in the future as well. But maybe brief introduction on my part, just to get the ball
Yes.
rolling. So, Petteri Rantamäki. I always say sorry for the name. I'm Finnish because it's a bit of a mouthful for some people, and I'm working.
I'm really happy you saying it because I I try before to like, and I was like,
Exactly.
Petteri, I will just say Petteri.
Yeah, and I tell people just call me Peter if that's easier. I
Okay,
know I don't get offended about it, but I
perfect.
work at Visma Group, which is Europe's largest mission critical software company, SaaS provider for accountants and public companies and a lot of different kind of players in the market. And my focus is the accounting offices as a customer group of our solutions and also as a distributor of our solutions. And with that focus, like I said, in total, Visma is a few hundred companies. So we're a big family. We could call it like a constellation of organizations that are building mission critical software. But my area is accounting offices and the whole accounting domain. And that means currently it's about 50 companies who I personally work with. And what
Okay.
combines all of those 50 companies is that they collaborate with accounting offices. Some are smaller, some are bigger. It depends a lot on the maturity of the companies, where they are when it comes to this industry and working within this industry. And my personal reason for waking up every morning and all the studies I do and all the research I do and everything else is to help our companies and people and teams build sustainable success with accounting offices. Not
Mm.
so that you quickly grow and then ta-da, and that's it, because we see those players all around, but because we're talking, when we talk about accounting and accounting offices, we're talking about like really fundamentally important things for a country like France. If something goes wrong in this industry, or the technology doesn't quite work, or something happens in the tech, there's no like long-term thinking in it. That's really dangerous. So
Correct.
then on our part, we also really want to think about that sustainability of it all, that everything is built securely, it's long lasting, we're thinking about the trends, we're thinking about the times ahead. And with that focus on 56 companies in 20 countries, you can think I come across a lot of change and also a lot of these topics all the time. If I think about my normal day or normal week, it's just continuously discussing with our business leaders and product leaders about what's happening in the industry. What do you see either changing or just continuing as per usual? And then in Visma, we share that knowledge. That is one of the most, like, if we think about the big secret or kind of like the secret sauce within Visma, like why are things going so freaking well and have gone for decades already, is that this group of, let's just use the 50 companies here as an example, not all 200. If someone in those 50 companies finds, let's say, a new feature or a new way of working or a new operational model, guess what happens next? Everyone else observes it and thinks about, could we somehow do this? So that means that instead, when you are in Visma, you have access to tens and tens and tens of companies' experiments, and then you can kind of pick and choose your own version of everything. And I'm also a big part in that whole mix itself.
Okay, so you make some connection between CEOs from France to Norway, for example, and if even in Norway you try something, you can say it to the CEO in France. Okay, maybe you can try this feature, and it will work. Oh, nice. Okay.
Exactly, and I read this in a great book. What was the book was called The Innovation Stack. I really recommend. That was a great book I read last year, and there was a beautiful line which I kind of took for myself, and also I repeat this very often in Visma, is copy what you can, invent what you must.
Okay.
And if it comes to business and software and accounting related operations, you can copy a lot from when someone is successful at something. Let's take that. And then our own brand, our own culture, our own regulation, let's package it in the right way, and magic happens. So we are amazing at using this network.
Because what is important to understand is, like, in Visma, you're buying some companies from each country. But for example, if I took from France, like my company files, MCF will not be exported in Norway. So that's why if we create something here, we can copy it in Norway or something somewhere. You can tell me where are your companies. Maybe
Yes.
but for example, now I will took France and Norway. It's easier for me.
Yep.
This is important. It's like, okay, you buy software from countries, and they are still in the countries, but they discuss together.
Yeah, exactly. Because and this is a bit unconventional, because very often we have seen this in the past, that when M&A happens, a company is kind of like put into that box itself. Like what is the company? And Visma's approach has always been a combination of two things. Like, always focus on being the best local player. So when M&A happens, the company can operate just as it used to operate always before joining Visma, besides just a few like financial reporting things. And then there's this international network that they all of a sudden are just like, you have a highway, like a highway to this network. And you mentioned my company files, for example. And in April of this year, we have our next gathering where we talk about partnerships with accounting offices and pricing policies of accounting offices. And guess what? They will be joining us in Copenhagen, in Denmark. And this is exactly that whole thing, is that not just technically, but also the people. We want to connect the people. And but all of a sudden, when a person from my company files joins this network, well, they are now a part of something a lot bigger than they used to be before joining Visma. So it is also like a club where we just share a lot of insights, and we're just accelerating each other's growth. I think we are quite a growth accelerator company as well. And if we look at outside of France, also some of the companies, we have seen amazing growth in some of our Nordic companies, for example. After acquisition, if you like 20x the company in a decade, for example, that is, it's a result, of course, of the company doing amazing stuff. They had something magical about them, but they also got something out of this whole network itself that also just boosted that growth as well.
Wow, 20x. Okay.
No, that's just like a not even the craziest example. I
Yeah.
just threw a number there.
Yeah, it's more than an accelerator. Okay. So can you tell me in which country you are right now?
Well, it's almost easier to say which countries we aren't in because over the past years we have entered Italy, we've entered France, we've entered Croatia as well, just as maybe the latest acquisitions. Also Iceland. So
Mm.
when you're going to Reykjavik in Iceland, I will also know a few guys who you should meet there in
Okay.
up north. I was there last year. But then the home, like Visma's headquarters is in Oslo, Norway.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
where the company was founded. And then some of our biggest companies are in Denmark, Sweden, Finland.
Mm.
And also a long strategic acquisition country has been Netherlands and Belgium, as it's like Benelux area. So, but besides that, I actually have a cheat map next to me because that
Yeah.
just makes it a lot easier for me to remember everything. But we're also in Germany, Poland, Romania, Hungary, um, Austria, a lot of different places. Also Latin America. I personally don't have that much to do with Latin American markets, which are actually one of the fastest growing as well. You wouldn't maybe think about it that way, but feels like and it seems like compliance and financial compliance especially is a really big driver right now in Latin America as well. So we are very broadly already across especially European continent and Latin America.
And it's interesting because you see all the difference between all the country. But what is the biggest trend? Is one trend that all Europe and even Latin America is knowing right now? Is AI is the big mix?
Mm,
Factory?
okay. I would say still maybe the whole adoption of cloud technology is quite a big driver, even though in a lot of countries it has happened already. Of course,
Mm,
we don't talk that much about cloud accounting anymore, right? It kind of like happened. Um, I think if you look at publications and different kind of medias, it is AI who is or the topic which is really visible right now. But if I think about the daily life and the daily work of an accountant, it is mostly technology that is changing. And then also, I think the evolution of the relationship that happens between accountant and the business owner, because in the past it used to be mainly that I don't have any receipts next to me, but I'm looking for some papers here. You kind of brought like a package of papers, and can you enter this into the platform and then report that to the government?
mm,
That's not the case anymore. Um, Now it's much more about the accountant being in touch with the entrepreneur and asking questions and being almost like a guardian angel on your shoulder who then answers all the questions you have as a business owner. And technology and the evolution of that relationship, I think, is actually the most biggest or fundamental difference or change that has happened or is
mm,
going through right now. I think it's very easy to get stuck on hot trends, but
mm,
then what we always need to really think about is what are the fundamental things that are also not changing.
mm.
And I think one of these things is the need for human conversation,
Yeah.
for example. And a lot of people could just upload their finances and statements into ChatGPT and ask for advice for how should I improve my business. But
Yeah.
it's not quite the same as working with an advisor.
I understand what you mean, but I feel like this will change a lot of business model of our practices.
Mm.
And there is few steps between, okay, I will make some advice because advisory is the new big things, or every practice need to do advisory. But in fact, when I see what's happened in France, there is a big gap between the two step, and a lot of turnover, or the lot of chiffre d'affaires is still doing on accounting services.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
country is the most advanced for you?
Which country?
Yeah.
I would say It used to be Finland for quite some time, and I might have a Finnish bias coming to you from Helsinki, but I think Finland is being challenged a little bit by a place like Norway, which I think the beauty of Norway is really competitive technology and also really modern people, like accountants in general, very open-minded and very modernistic about the way they work. And also, there's many private equity players who are pushing for business development. The owners of bigger accounting offices they demand growth.
Okay.
And you cannot get that growth by just doing what has been done for decades in this industry. You need to take the next step, and to take that next step, that's where the whole AI opportunity enters the game, because that's efficiency. And once you pump up efficiency of certain kind of activities, then you can increase the value output, which should lead to more revenue, right? So I would say Norway is, like, holistically maybe the most developed market. But then, interestingly, if you think about e-invoicing, another hot topic for you guys as well, and many other countries in Europe, Romania and Italy have gone there already. They are e-invoicing native countries, and that's also one big thing that we see in some countries that you don't often maybe associate as being modern financial states in a sense. Like Mario Draghi made some magic happen in Italy, and there was a big reason for it. And we kind of see that countries that are or have been struggling with, could we say, like gray economy, dark economy, going underneath the radar, are actually now pretty interested on making that harder. And that's where e-invoicing also plays a big role. So there's tremendous evolution happening also across the whole continent itself.
And for you, what will change, or what has changed in Italy and Romania with the facture electronic or e-invoicing, and is the practices are still there? Because it's one of biggest fear in France. Like, with the facture electronic, the jobs will disappear, etc.
No, it doesn't. The only thing that changes is the way how work is done and what you're working with. And
that's
I
important.
think e-invoicing and AI are a few things where it lets humans do what humans are best at. And at least to me, if I'm thinking about the happiness of individuals and the work we do, I think there's a lot more meaning in also what can be done when automation and e-invoicing and AI take certain activities away from humans. That are more, it's more like remnants of the history, these certain tasks. And this might be a personal opinion at least, but I don't think humans should be doing data entry. Like that just me. I don't think that's the best use of you as an individual. Like, you as an individual are so much more valuable in that human interaction and talking about it and interpreting the numbers and comparing players and benchmarking their results and everything else. And that is, I would say, an amazing job that we're freed up to do. And but first we need to get rid of the history or change the way we have been thinking about the core tasks of this kind of professional for quite some time. When it comes to change, there's always, I say, there's three components when we talk about change. And the trio is that we always have a history. Like that's like the starting point. We have a past of ourselves, and also as an industry, we have a history of how things have been done. Then we have forces that are pushing us today. For example, recruitment, we need a new person, or technology, we need a new technology, or we need to get new clients. That's also a push that is happening in the present. And then we also have the future, which is, what do we want to become? And hopefully you have thought about that future. We could call that maybe as the vision or the strategy of the company. And maybe a question to you would be, what percentage of French accounting offices have a strategy? We can think about that. But but change is always somewhere in the middle of all these three things: the history, the present, and the future. And don't get stuck in the history. Don't live in the future. But let's do all the things today that we can do to take us where we want to be.
Did you design like a blueprint of the best practice to change a practice? Or is it exist or something like for example, because you asked me how many practice in France have strategy. I think there is not that much now, but it's one of the biggest themes of the Congrès des experts comptables this year. So I'm pretty sure that with the factor electronic, a lot of things will change in France during the 5 next years.
Yeah.
So
when it comes to, so you're meaning like, do we have a template for accounting officers for how to build a business? Right. Sorry?
With your best practice.
Yeah, I think and actually about my personal history. So I used to work in a Finnish Visma company before joining Visma Group myself. And one of my jobs was to run what we were calling a growth program, actually for Finnish accounting officers. And I personally helped about 120 Finnish accounting officers, for example, change their pricing model from hourly to a subscription model. And I was helping with sales and skills and all different things that they do. And that's where I also got a lot of my industry expertise in the beginning to start off with. And to continue that work, we have these programs in a few countries. Not every country, not every company takes that responsibility quite so heavily as some organizations do. For example, last week I was talking with one of our Finnish companies who I think twice or three times a year they start a new program where they on board like 20 accounting officers who want to build a better business, and then they help them hands-on. But what's the recipe for that? It's very often case by case, but there's at least two things that always have a huge impact. First of all, leadership. Are you a good leader? Do you have a vision? Can you get people on board? Yada yada. And secondly, do you have a plan? Do you have objectives or things you want to achieve? So once you start to have the list of things you want to do, and then a person who is driving them, magic starts to happen, right? But before having any objectives or goals, it's really hard to have anything like that. Yeah. And also, I think we don't really need to think about like what is the perfect blueprint of an accounting office, because there's room for so much variance and diversity in the industry. I think if we look at France or Finland or any country, the accounting industry is like a mirror image of the companies that exist in that country. And if a country doesn't have many accounting officers who think about new services or consultation, I promise you, the businesses don't ask for it. And they never kind of assume that they would even get that. And once that changes, then also the accounting officers will start to give more advisory services when the clients start to ask for them. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like, don't try to build a perfect business, but just do things that work and iterate, and set good goals.
So if I resume, you need to be a manager, or you need to have a plan, to dessiner un plan, quoi, to sketch a plan, fix objective, and then let's go, let's try, let's fail, and let's try again.
Yeah, I keep on learning. Yeah, maybe that's the best thing that can happen. And I think this is a pretty safe industry to experiment in, because if we think about the like business as generating money or revenue as everything should be, that's the blood of the business itself. Our core business is rather reliable. It's not like accounting or bookkeeping will be stopped in a way. So we have this core in the middle, and around that we can build a lot of things and test with different things. And small experiments don't cost that much. Like testing a little service here and there, testing a little whatever it might be, test assessment, new tool. We have a lot of opportunities, and maybe that's also a bit of the problem, is that we have so many opportunities. And so like, which one do you take? Because fear of missing out, what if I make the wrong choice, and here's like 5 million things I could do also besides only the financial compliance itself.
From what you see in different countries, what is the three main next services that every practice need to try right now?
Well, I have. There's been many businesses who have asked me like, so what is the next like value-added service that I should then do? I also hate the word value-added service because it doesn't really tell me anything about like what you're doing. But where I would start off again is, what do your customers need, and have you asked them about these things? Because if you have, and this is actually a very similar way when a company in Visma says that they would like to start building a collaboration with accounting offices, the first thing we recommend is that get at least like 10 or 20 of them to sit down with you and then talk about what should we do, what could we do, what do we need to improve, what do we need to work on. So I would give kind of a similar example or recommendation for everyone else in this industry as well, is that just get those clients to sit down with you and ask them what do they need. Because they most likely have an answer that then you can somehow commercialize. And but if we go into classic, it's like budgeting and budgeting based objective setting, and then following up with KPIs, and then if someone is struggling with those meeting their targets, then we provide assistance. So we're kind of like a CFO type of a profile. So that's where a lot of potential lays. And interestingly enough, if you think about us becoming CFOs or advisors to businesses, well, first we need to do that for ourselves again. Like if we don't have those ambitions, how can we help someone else work with theirs? So let's fix ourselves first, put that oxygen mask on, and then help other businesses put their oxygen mask on as well.
Okay, I understand. It's interesting to say it again. It's like, okay, back to basics and look at your portfolio, ask them what they want before trying any action, marketing or whatever else. And when they say what they want, you can create the offer.
Yeah. And what really shocked me, I have a friend who is an entrepreneur or a business owner, and he told me that he's changing his accountant after 5 years. And I'm not sure what the average number was. I think the average entrepreneur changes their accountant every 4 years or something like that, roughly in Europe. And he said that he's changing his accountant, and I asked him why. And he said, no problems, like everything has been really nice and smooth, but they have never asked me, what do I want to achieve? Where do I want to go? What's missing? What's bad? So he was also looking for someone who is a sparring partner in a sense. And, I'm quite shocked. Like if you have a client who you've never asked what they want to achieve or become, get an answer to that question first, and all of a sudden the answers will come to you as well. Because then if someone says they want to grow, well, here's our services for growing. If they want to become profitable, here's our services that help you become profitable. So we need to know what our customers want.
But honestly, if you don't ask him what he wants or what are his objectives, etc., it's like your client is the state, it's the tax, it's not the entrepreneur. And that's, I think, what technology changed right now. Because before, what I feel 5 years ago when I was in practice, I was like, okay, I will give you your balance sheet, your comptes annuels, maybe at the best in March, but honestly in April. But I will say it to you what's happened in 2023. In 2024, so it's not good. It's okay, but it's not good. What technology changed right now? It's real-time visualization, and that change everything. And now we have to be interested in our clients and, okay, what do you want? What is your objective? What is your personal objective, etc.
Exactly. And that's also a bit of a business model question, that if you have a subscription model, for example, accounting as a service, then it's second nature for you to ask those questions. But if it's only about the hourly rate and the right measurements and getting the minutes in the timesheet, maybe you don't have the incentive to ask those questions, and you don't have the incentive to go into those conversations that actually lead to a higher average revenue per customer or increase in general. So that again is a great example of why the business model is a huge conflict for us as well. And talking brief about pricing as well, like what has been a huge fight in the whole like cloud migration, not only Visma but for companies like Sage, Xero, all the global players as well, is if you price your services per hour, what is your incentive for efficiency?
Yeah.
Why would you? Why would you?
Yeah, why would you like to be faster? And it's funny because I had a meeting with an expert comptable last week, which told me, because I record a podcast with Ron Baker, and we discussed about the hourly billing and why hourly billing is dead. And this expert comptable is like a great accounting practice, like more than 100 people in the team, and he called me, say to me, you know what? You change my view, and with all happen with AI, with our productivity, and we continue to invoices by time to spend. It's not the right model, and I was, hey, let's change.
Yeah,
this right
exactly. And I think it's beautiful is that growingly, thanks to technology, but then also the maturation of our thinking and the examples we see, we are just seeing more and more of this traction happening, that the business model is becoming a way where we can actually work with it a lot better. I think if you have a subscription model, you have so many different components in your business that you can tweak, like sales and marketing and operations and tech and everything. But if it's only based on hours, we're very limited. And what we used to joke around with some of our partners was that, how do you increase revenues in a company that is built by the hours? Well, one option is to make more mistakes, so you need to fix them. So then you get more hours on the clock because you're doing worse. Just drop the quality of the work, and it makes everyone laugh, but it also makes you realize that, wow, this is really stupid, right? It doesn't make any sense. And I think it's one of those things that just has a big impact. This whole pricing model itself. But nowadays, I have this weird hobby that I like to visit new accounting offices' websites when I see a new business pop up. And the first thing I do is I go to their services.
Yeah.
And the second thing I do is, if it's not already there, I check their prices. And very often nowadays, I see three options.
Yeah.
I see small, medium, large. I see bronze, silver, gold, whatever. There's just a growing number of packages, and it's a very welcome change because at the end, people do more meaningful work in our industry, but then also I think the customers get a better result as well from all of this. So it isn't a zero-sum game. I think we're all like getting better help also with that.
Yeah, and even about business model, the 3 tiers option. The 3 tiers is so hard for me to say it in English, but I know you understand, and I try.
Yes.
At every episode I do in English, I talk about the 3 tiers option. Even with Geraldine Porter, which come in my office in Paris, and and we do the episode in French. But I was like, okay, the 3 tiers option is the best option for practices, because you left the choice to the customers, and I don't know why every practices don't do that. It's so easy. Even about switching the business model, it's like, okay, the bronze is my minimum value, but the middle is what I really want to do, and the gold is like, okay, you go to the palace and you have everything the best.
Yeah.
And the customer, the client can change. You don't have any effort. You don't have any commercial effort to sell something to someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what is on both service provider side and also software side, kind of a common thing that changes between the packages is the amount of human effort or attention you get. So with small packages, we very rarely see anything else than like, we have a basic support line and feel free to call us if there's any problems and so forth. But then in the middle, you have more frequent things to do with your accountant or advisor. And then on the last one, weekly information sharing or whatever it might be, but just the frequency of contact, the frequency of value. That is a big like divider between the packages themselves. But yeah, that is one big driver.
Yeah, and about this driver, I want to talk about the partnership between software and practices, because what we see right now, and even more in France with, I don't know if you heard about the story of Silae. Silae is a software about HR, which made les bulletins de paye. I don't know the word in English. I'm really sorry, but paycheck, like paycheck. And last year, right before the Congrès des experts comptables, they sent letters to all their customers, like, okay, you will be the price will be increased, like I don't want to say connery, but like 300%, and good luck. And so all the profession was like, holy shit, like, okay, we don't have anything to say, we don't have any power of negotiation, etc., etc. So we are like, software are not our friends anymore. And for you, what can you see, when can you say about the partnership, and even with now coming, buying every companies here? So what can we say about partnership?
Well, I think I was already referring earlier to the Next Day Shapers, for example, which is our internal gathering where we talk about our business with accounting offices and what we do. That is organized by a community called the AO Alliance, which is our alliance in Visma for everything we do with accounting offices. We have over 500 people already in that community. But the core theme is partnerships next time. That like, and I have my own bias because I used to be a partner manager, I used to be a business developer, so I really felt it as one of the most important things that we also do. And in Visma, we have a belief that there is kind of like a beyond software opportunity. I call it going beyond software because there's so many things outside of it, but it's kind of like a 4-layered thing. In the core, we always say that we have tools and technology, like that's the starting point. Like this needs to be amazing. Like the technology, the features, the functionality, how it works, how it's integrated into the broader ecosystem must be top notch. The starting point. And I have used to say that I made some Danish accountants laugh when I said that if your technology is bad, all the services you do on top of it, it's kind of like putting makeup on a pig. It's still going to be a pig, right? even though it looks beautiful on the outside and so forth. But on top of the technology and the features and everything else, the first layer is support and training. We want to make sure that accounting offices and accountants, when they have a problem, they can get help from us. Chat in the software, phone support, email support, partner manager. And then also what has been a beautiful addition now is artificial intelligence, because now it's 24/7, 365. You can actually talk with our FAQ and our databases and everything else. So AI kind of added into that. But then training, capability development and training of people, I think, is one of the most important tasks when it comes to technology. And we as software providers, we need to have that responsibility that, let's say, if an organization of 100 people starts to use a new tool, no matter what they do with it, but if people don't feel like they know the tool well, they will get bad experiences, and then they will stop using it, and then they will talk bad about it, and then it will be stopped, right? So the training and capability development must be top-notch, amazing, good. And that's our responsibility. It's part of the partnership. Then the third layer is growth and success. How do we help you build an amazing business? And that's where our partner managers actually shine. And I have said for quite some time that if you if you think about many partner managers that work in accounting software companies, they are actually pretty amazing business consultants, because if you have a portfolio of, let's say, 100 or 200 accounting offices who you work with, they see a lot of stuff. And just besides talking about contracts or all sorts of rewards and incentives and so forth, you can also talk with your partner manager about my marketing, my sales, our promotions, everything else. So we also in Visma, we take a lot of pride in, we want to grow the accounting offices who work with us. We always talk about that growth and how can we incentivize that growth. And then the last layer, besides all these three, so tech, support and training, growth and success, the last fourth layer is community and knowledge. We want to make sure that when you become a partner of our system or a broader ecosystem of companies that are in Visma, you feel like you have gotten access to something that you didn't maybe have before. That's kind of the same ideology that we have in Visma, is that when a company becomes Visma, they get access to all these other people. So the same ideology that when you become our partner, you get access to the events, to the training, to the webinars, to the material bank, to all these other things that makes you a lot better at what you do. So
even for the practices.
Sorry?
Even for the practices, like for expert comptable in France, if I'm client from Income or My Company Files or Finthesis, maybe or the three of them in the package, maybe I have access to something special from Visma and all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have personally, for example, I have been visiting accounting offices across Europe and talking to their leadership teams about what's happening in the industry, what's the data look like, and it kind of feels weird that we as a software company are doing this, but I think we are one of the most knowledgeable companies in the whole European continent about this whole industry itself already. So we are more than happy to talk to our companies, partners. For example, you mentioned Income. I'm glad to always, like, if someone from the Income company sends me a message like, could you talk with our accounting office? I'm like, absolutely, I will be there. I will talk and I will give them my material, because like I said, we take passion in and pride in that growth. And if by sharing our insights, we can get the industry to grow, that's, everyone wins in that. The customers win, the accountants win, we win, the whole European economy wins. So it isn't like we're going to be losing out on anything. And we just want to be sure that we are sharing a lot of insight. But for us, partnership is, and the whole partner experience is at the heart and center of all the work we do with accounting offices. But this whole beyond software ideology, I'm a big proponent of it. I take a lot of pride in talking about these 4 layers, and every company, no matter big or small, you should have thought about these 4 layers when you talk about your partnership. Yeah, and I bet you in April, we're going to be talking about this so much that people are going to be saying that Petteri, shut up for a while. I know.
Okay, so when Charles Olivier will come back from your seminar, you will talk about this a lot. Okay, I understand what you mean.
Exactly, and we also have this belief in Visma that you haven't spoken enough about your strategy if people are not saying that they don't want to hear about your strategy. So you just need to keep on repeat, and then repetition is the mother of learning. And let's simplify and then just do this thing.
Yeah, it's important to simplify a maximum.
Yeah, but we don't want to be a player that is somehow seen by the accounting industry as like we're somehow threatening anyone, or we're only raising prices or whatever. Like there are those players in the market, but we are so much more about what can we do for the whole European continent. And thinking about the times that we're living through right now with the macroeconomic situation and such, there's no room for European companies to like do anything stupid in this space. Like, we need to do this responsibly and sustainably to have a continent that is amazing to live in and prosper as well. So we will do everything that we can do there.
I can understand your purpose right now. And what is your next big move in France?
Next big move in France.
Yeah.
If only I could tell you all those things. It's so much easier for me to always default to saying like, I will let our PR let you know when something happens. So you're not the first one who is asking about our M&A or everything else that's happening. But I think if we already think about the companies, like amazing businesses that are there with Income, my company Files, Thesis, Quarks Up, Chain Trust, did I forget someone? And so what is very important with these companies is that they collaborate. They behave as an ecosystem. They sit around the table. They discuss with one another. And I have to say that what has been happening with the French companies is exemplary in Visma, because we like there are many countries where we have many players in the same nation, and then the collaboration is a bit shallow. Like maybe we don't need it. Maybe there's not so much drive for it. It goes well anyway. But I think in France, the companies are doing amazing work with their collaboration, and they are really setting also example for other countries where Visma operates right now with what they're doing. So I'm when the event happened in Marseille last year, I was like, these guys know what they're doing, and now with everything else that is coming up, I think it's going to be a fantastic year, and we will do a lot of work to make sure that the collaboration feels really good, and that the industry also feels and sees that collaboration between the companies themselves.
So you will be in Lyon in September.
I think I will, because people from a few of our companies have said that you really need to come. So I think I might come to Lyon. And I in my university times, I was in Paris for exchange studies, and I actually was in Lyon as well for a little bit of time. So maybe I will do a little homecoming in a sense to Lyon.
I know what you mean. I really want to understand for you what are the future skills. I totally changed the subject, but I really want, because I see the time clocking. I really want to understand for you what are the future skills from the accountants. What we need to work on our team.
Yeah. It could be divided in a few different ways. And maybe where to start off with is I saw this great example in quite a big franchise accounting office here in the Nordics. There's a business who, when they hire young trainees, they work for a while doing all sorts of generalist tasks, and then they're put into like a crossroads situation where you need to choose. And what the two options are for these trainees is, do you want to become a service expert, which means that you are talking with your customers? It's a lot about these discussion things in general. And then the other option is, do you want to become a technical specialist, which means you're kind of like the operations person. So we start to see a division in two of, we have the human individuals, and then we have the technical individuals. And I would encourage everyone to do both, in a sense. If you can study the technology, be really open-minded about new tools, and also now thinking about low-code, no-code platforms, check them out. They can be amazing help for you. But then what I'm a big also proponent for is this software side of it all, which is conversations. How do you meet with people? How do you talk with people? How do you consult? What about change management? These things. So, my advice for not only accountants but all economists or economic students has been, read psychology if you can, because psychology is amazing ingredient for success. When you understand how a human makes decisions, how a human motivates themselves, what about the basic needs that a human has, you can discuss in a way that is much more kind of like, it hits you in a good way. It makes you change things. And I would just give a lot of people just a couple of really good books on psychology. and then start up there. And it feels kind of bad to recommend a Swedish book as a Finn, but we have this friendly clash between our countries. But there's an amazing book that has been written by a Swedish author called Surrounded by Idiots.
Okay.
And Surrounded by Idiots is I would say that's a great starter book for psychology, because it is about the different personalities that humans exhibit, and when you see a person who is more domineering or more energetic or more analytical, your communication also needs to change a little bit. So grab, for example, that book and then think about how can you apply that into the work you do all the time.
It's funny because it's not really the usual recommendation we had when we do accounting. The accounting is more like technical, and during all the studies, I speak about France, but during all the study, we don't talk about marketing, about strategy, about psychology, about we are just like, okay, this is A, this is B, and you put A in B, and you put. I simplify things, but it's really technical things and not as psychological as you mentioned.
Yeah, no. And if you wonder about why hasn't my friend been asked about what they want to achieve in 5 years, this is your explanation. No one has taught a person when you study for, I don't know how long you need to go to school. In Finland, I think you need to have at least like 3 years of studies before you can do accounting in a business very often. Well, actually, you don't need any education, but the basic education is that. And there isn't a single lesson on how do you approach a client, how do you talk with a client, how do you find opportunities from a client. And yeah, to me, that's something that should change in a way. And I see a growing number of federations of accounting and associations, all these like different bodies that help the industry and talk about the industry. They are starting to do like sales courses and leadership courses, and it's interesting to see that educational institutions haven't taken that responsibility. So now we see organizations who are stepping up to, because they have realized, they have seen this, that we don't talk enough about this thing. And when you are, let's say, when you are like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you are really open to getting these ideas. And if during your time of being really open for ideas and way of working, no one tells you these things, it's going to be so much harder to go to, with all due respect to everyone in the industry, of course, I'm not saying this in a bad way or anything, but if you are 45 and have been doing this for 15 years, I will have a hard time to change the way you work instead of someone who I can talk about these things when they're 19 and just about to enter the industry.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And a lot of change are coming. And what are the biggest use of AI do you, because it's remained 7 minutes together, and I just want to deep I lost my English, but I want to be in AI. What is the first use of AI? What kind of using AI? My question is not good right now, but how can we use AI in our practices? But what will be the first? Well, I got it. I get my question. What will be the first use of AI in practice?
I think many of us, hopefully all of us, have already been testing with all the LLMs, ChatGPT and the like, and you can upload your material there. You can ask questions from it. Notebook LM is also amazing at this as well. So if you have finances or financial information of a company over the past few years, you can put this into the system. Hopefully, make sure that it is a paid private instance, so it's not used for training purposes. Just as a disclaimer there. But if you have, let's say, 2024 results of the company, 2025 results of the company, and the format is the same, you can put this as a training material and ask what has changed and what should we do about it. That's like really low hanging thing that every single one of us can already do. But I think from our perspective, what is coming to the use of accountants, for example, is anomaly detection. Is if there's a huge amount of information in a system, or an accountant, or they have, let's say an accountant has 50 clients, and something changes. Let's say the ownership structure of the company, or the bank accounts, or whatever might change. We let the accountant know without like them needing to do a lot of researching. So actually, the AI from our side should be coming to you, and you shouldn't invest too much on it. Like, let us bring this to you in the tools that already exist. And same thing with transactions, and booking transactions. The systems themselves should be doing recommendations and automatic activities already there. And I think a lot of it will be just embedded into the tools themselves. Like, I'm personally, and also in Visma, we think about this, like, how much should we talk about AI, or how much should we just build it and then not even like call it AI, because I think it's a very trendy word right now, but a lot of it isn't that crazy as well. So I think that's just a few examples. If you want to be proactive about it, go study all the tools you can, outsource your marketing to Midjourney, and all the different tools that are just out there. You can do a lot. But when it comes to the mission critical software and the accounting software, besides the whole input, making sure that the input is correct and the input is working and changes are taken into consideration, we will also on the background be working a lot with AI. And not sure it's always going to be visible, because we don't think it always needs to be like AI. It will just be a great tool, and you will be happy about it, right?
Okay, so you will work on a great feature, but you don't say it like it's AI, and
it depends. It depends, because some companies have already come up with great AI solutions, like Stikos in Norway or Silverfin in Belgium and UK are just a few nice examples that internally have also been visible a lot. They have gone and done that. Then we see companies who do it more in the background, not so much roar about it. And then what I just don't really like a lot is we have some of these big global players who come out with like amazing AI agent, promotional videos, but then there's a small asterisk somewhere there at the bottom which says like, this isn't the real product, and it will be coming out in 6 months or something. And I think that doesn't serve anyone, that we have nice marketing video. It doesn't actually work that way. You must have seen some of these clips of people using like a mobile accounting platform, and it's like, oh, it's telling me what products to buy, and it's like, yeah, well, I'm not sure it works quite that way. So it's a balance between marketing, but then also what we really want to do is that practical, actual value and that use case besides only marketing.
Okay. And for you, what will be the place of AI in the industry in 5 years?
That is an interesting question. And, this decade has been crazy on the meanwhile already. And to try to forecast what 2030 is going to be like is amazingly difficult. And, the classic saying goes that people always overestimate the change of a short period of time, and we always underestimate the change over a long period of time. And I think 5 years, depending on the person, can be either long or short. But I think we're going to see more and more AI also in the day-to-day work of the accountant, and I'm not sure quite where it's going to be fitting, because I think the industry also is trying to still figure out where is it practical, right? What's the real use case? I think it has freed up accountants to do what we talked about earlier, which is spend time doing the right things and less on data input. First of all, AI isn't going to be advising companies what to do. AI isn't going to be doing the conversations for you. Maybe. We never know, because it's advancing so fast, and then we see all these AI meeting apps and phone apps and everything going on. But it will be changing the basic building blocks. But I don't think there's going to be a revolutionary change as a result of it. Could be wrong, and hopefully I am wrong. But if you also think about the history of the industry, which I also try to always do, we have seen the birth of internet, we have seen the birth of Excel, we have seen cloud accounting, we have seen all these things. And every single time we said that this is the end of accounting, and still we're here. And I think also AI will be one of those things where we're going to be like, oh, what is this going to do to us? Or e-invoicing, oh, what is this going to do to us? But don't worry, like work will change, but you will not be gone. Like the work will change. That's just a taken thing for us.
Perfect for the final word. Honestly, I love it. I have nothing to add on it. Do you want to add something?
Not too much. I think if there's someone listening to this who would like to chat, always open for it. We really love to have these conversations, and maybe hopefully meet some individuals like yourself in Lyon as well when the time comes for that. And I think on Visma's behalf, I can say that we are super interested, excited, and motivated by what can we do together as an industry. I think it was Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz, the venture capital company, who said that software is going to eat the world. I personally don't take that so drastically. I will say the interchange between humans and technology, and where all these merge, that's where the magic will happen. And in Visma, we're super engaged and motivated to make sure that when human and technology meet, it's magic that ends up benefiting the customers and also the national economies that we work with.
Perfect. I will put your LinkedIn in the description of the episode, and of course we see in London for that. I'm pretty sure that it will be a great event, and we will talk about AI and all the new stuff in the industry, and then I will bring it back to the France for maybe a new episode, and I will see you. Do you come in July for the day, the client day for My Company Files or something else?
I will be there as one of the speakers. So I will be coming over, and I will be meeting our French companies there in Paris. Well, I will be there.
Okay, nice. So you will come in Paris, but text me. Well, I will send you a message. See you in London. I will stop the episode right now, and we continue after.
Yes.
Thank you, Petteri. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you.